I think I just proved that the M2 iPad Pro is pointless, but you already knew that. And frankly, that's a bit too cliche, isn't it? Here on YouTube saying, I returned my iPad, here are the 5 reasons I hate the iPad. But I think I'm gonna surprise you with this one. In my last video, I was quite critical of the M2 iPad Pro and basically said it's the same shit. And before I sit here and just say that I told you so, well, I did. But I thought I'd put my money where my mouth is and just test the damn thing. And I think you're gonna be very surprised. To be 100% clear, this iPad is going straight back to Apple. There's no question about that. There's a couple of bombshells in this video that even I wasn't expecting, so bear with me here. I asked you, my audience, here on YouTube and on Twitter for real-world professional apps that you think the iPad Pro is great for. So I spent some time watching tutorials, reading forums, and learning about what within those apps could push the iPad Pro to its limits. And before I get into that, here's something very interesting. As I predicted in my last video, all of those big channels who got this iPad early from Apple were very fluffy about their so-called reviews. I can't stay quiet about this. I'm sorry, but I've got to keep mentioning it. I think it's criminal. And look, I'm not salty because Apple didn't send me the iPad for free. I buy their shit all the time anyway. My problem is, as a consumer, those early access videos only do one thing. They generate positive reviews. You know, there's no way those guys are gonna call out Apple like I've been doing, like another handful of people on YouTube have been doing. Sure, some of those massive channels have been criticizing some of the features within the iPad Pro, but that's just what I expect when I watch a review. In my opinion, we should all be getting the devices at the same time. Whether Apple provides the devices to creators or not, don't give a shit, because only then you could, as a viewer, choose the videos to watch that will actually help your decision. If all you want to hear is a positive review, this is not the channel, right? I'm actually gonna use this damn thing. This is Shaper 3D, a very popular 3D modeling app. I installed and played around with Shaper 3D for a few days, downloaded quite a few 3D drawings and messed around with them, you know, trying to see what pushes the limits on the iPad using this app. Really, I have no clue what I'm doing here, but I understood that rendering not just lots of bodies within these 3D models, but complex surfaces is what will consume a lot of resources on the iPad. And I also found an interesting point here, which was just loading a complex design. In one example, it was actually faster to load on the M2 iPad Pro by 30 seconds. When it came to using the drawing, applying different finishing touches to them, absolutely zero difference. Moving, scaling, you know, whatever I tried to do, exactly the same on both. And when I was trying to export the model, the difference in speed was pretty negligible between the M1 and the M2 iPad Pro. Both did become very laggy during that export process, but I don't think you would be doing more work as you export. You probably go have a cup of tea when you're doing that, right? But I didn't notice any temperature issues. Both completed the task without any crashes or anything. Now, the first bombshell I mentioned is coming up, but first I decided to try a couple more creative apps. I tried Affinity Design and Illustrator, for example, here, which I do personally use quite a bit, but again, I could not tell the difference between normal day-to-day usage on these apps. One thing that some pros might do is export several raw images at once. So I loaded about 40 raw image edits that I had and saved them locally on the iPad. Absolutely no issue exporting them, both were extremely fast, but there was one noticeable difference. When downloading the raw images locally to the iPad, 40 images download, all very heavy sort of files, it looks like the new Wi-Fi 6E is having a positive impact on the M2 iPad Pro. The difference was definitely noticeable, but once both iPads had downloaded the images, they exported the 40 images, like I said, very fast, within a second actually. I tried Affinity Designer, but I gotta be honest, I wasn't really sure what to do to make this app kind of push the iPad, but the experience was very similar on both. I tried zooming in and out, and I didn't notice any lags whatsoever, either on the pen or just moving the drawings. Sometimes you might get a delay on the brushes, when you quickly zoom in and out, you might see some, what it looks like a drop frame, but both felt very smooth. There was no issues in exporting them in high resolution either, both did well. I did notice the Apple Pencil hover when selecting items in the menu, and I think the jury is out on that one, to be honest. When selecting small parts in a 3D design model, I did think that was useful, but is it worth an upgrade just for that? Nah, not for me. Now here's a serious bombshell with LumaFusion. I loaded a few clips in standard 4K videos with different sources like a bit of drone footage and some basic 4K footage. And the video is about half an hour long, with all those clips, just to give you an idea of kind of the exporting size and kind of what I'm dealing with here. Exporting this 4K video using the default settings in LumaFusion was over 10 minutes slower on the M2 iPad Pro. Yeah, is this alarming? I mean, I don't want to get hysterical here because it's just a test, but I think it is. Considering this is not a new app and the app behaves perfectly fine on the M1 chip, This should be at least equal for me, right? This is not a brand new app, you know, this is not the one that's coming up. That guy must have a really tiny... Anyway, considering this is not a new app and the app behaves perfectly fine on the M1 chip, for me this should be at least equal. When I tried the same operation but with ProRes footage, only ProRes, the M2 iPad Pro absolutely smashed it. Because I'm guessing he's using that ProRes decode engine, right? It's only 10 minutes difference, so I went when it came to the 4K one, but when you're paying extra for the latest device, this is not good, right? This is the basics. They should have covered the basics first before saying, right, let's improve ProRes. That's my opinion. I'll upload the footage to Google Drive so that you can see for yourself. And here's something on the screen so you can see the difference between the two as well. But I can hear you thinking, export time is not something that video editors care about too much, right? As long as the experience during the edit is smooth enough. At least as an editor myself, that's what I care about. I don't want lags when I'm actually working on it. The export is the time where I click export and I probably go have a coffee or something. Overall, there's nothing between them when it comes to just going through the edit. I know this is another YouTube problem, right? Everyone does video editing, so that's the first thing that we try. That's not necessarily what people care about. But I did use a whole load of different apps and the experience was very much the same. I'll go through them now, but get ready because I wasn't really that happy with comparing just these two devices. So I decided to use the M1 iPad Air just for fun to see how some of these apps would perform. And you guessed it, they all just behaved pretty much the same way. Of course, when it comes to things like Procreate, the memory is going to be a bottleneck here, right? And I'm not suggesting that the Air should be the device for pros, but I thought it was interesting. And if what you're doing doesn't require kind of crazy processing power, like I said previously, the M1 iPad Air is a great buy right now. Big shout out to my viewer Sloppy Tunes, great name by the way. You really helped me out by giving some pointers here on how to use the iPad and push the iPad with some of these apps. Sadly, I don't have your skills to really push some of these apps, but I really didn't notice any difference when you're kind of using both in some, you know, with just my basic knowledge. With Nomad 3D, for example, I loaded a few models, created my own, and you can see here, right, how much memory is being utilized. Some models used a lot more memory than others, but when moving around, working with the models, zooming in and out, you know, getting really a lot of detailing there, using kind of different paints and different materials, it really is the exact same experience. Before I forget, YouTube is bloody hard for smaller channels like this. I'm trying to grow this and it's really hard, so if you're really enjoying this video, a thumbs up goes a long way in getting YouTube to recommend this channel, but you can do even better than that by sharing this video with someone you know. The benefit to you, and hopefully to your friend as well, is that I will be here at least once a week with a down-to-earth tech video for you. Apple try really hard with their marketing, and I'm not falling for that again. A pencil hover? Really? Yes, Blackmagic Design announced a Q4 release of DaVinci Resolve, which is amazing and got a lot of people excited, but seeing what I just saw here, I will believe it when I see it. Nice try though, Apple. I'm not falling for that again. When DaVinci Resolve does come out, if it's true that's coming out in Q4 2022, I'll try it on my current $2,000 iPad that has been collecting dust since May 2021 before I go anywhere near the M2 iPad Pro. But I always like to listen to other people's opinion, and in my previous video there was a lot of you who actually provided a counterpoint to this M2 iPad Pro, so let's have a little emoji game here. I'm really interested in hearing where you are. It's Halloween now, so if you're skipping the M2 iPad Pro, leave a pumpkin emoji. And if you do think there's a good reason to go for the M2 iPad Pro, leave a ghost emoji in the comments below. When it comes to Apple recently, the best thing to do is to ignore their marketing. That's been my experience. And the same goes for YouTube, to be honest with you. Trying to sound like I'm not just moaning here, but as I said earlier, you know, the early access videos where Apple provide the creators with the devices, they're not gonna tell you the full story. And oh my gosh, look at this color, look how beautiful it is. And you know, those massive channels completely gloss over this very important point. This is 100% a cash grabbing product. To me, Apple have been complacent, they've been lazy with the development, they're too comfortable. They're trusting too much that customers are just gonna buy whatever they put out. I've had enough of it, and I'm pretty sure, I'm sorry if this is not what you wanted to hear, but I'm pretty sure if sales continue to go down, we'll eventually see the iPad Pro that we want. And it won't be because of a new chip. It will be because of better software. And you might be thinking, oh Alex, you know, it's a bit too early. The developers haven't had a chance to develop their apps yet or optimize. How many times have you heard that, right? I would say to that is iPadOS 16 isn't really being developed from the ground up, right? It's been around for a while and it's very much an iteration of the previous iPadOS. I know under the hood there's a lot of improvements and obviously Stage Manager and the new behavior of the pencil and things like that. Even as I say this, I'm like, God damn, really? Ultimately, it's an iteration. So really for me, the M2 iPad Pro is an upgraded hardware on the same shitty software. And as you saw here today, it's just negligible really what this update is doing in comparison with the existing iPad models. Maybe this is your first iPad. I'd still recommend the M1 iPad Pro in that case. Longer support? I'm not convinced. If it was $100 difference, sure, absolutely. Right, why not? But it's not, it's a big chunk of money. So where does that leave us? You know, in the Apple events, they've got these letters to Tim Cook, right? This should be one of those, right? Tim, what you did with the M1 iPad Pro in ripping me off for 16 gig RAM changed how I see the iPad Pro forever. Try better next time. But I think with this one, you just saved me a couple of grand. See you soon.